All right, this is going to be an overview of section number one. Section number one is going to be our deck framing. This won't include stairs, but it will include, that will be section 4, but it will include concrete for our structural posts. So once again, light blue section will be readouts telling us what material we need, and yellow will be where we input our information. Right? So in our yellow section, white is spaces we need to input manually, and light blue will be drop-down menus. Those are the only two colors we interact with in the yellow section. In our blue section, the only thing you interact with is this thing right here, where you'll select what material you want to include in your takeoff and estimation. So let's use this deck as an example. We'll say this is a 20-foot long deck, 14 feet wide, as our example. Now, as we go through this, you'll see there are question marks. Anytime you see a question mark next to a section, it will link to a video going into in-depth further about that section. So this will be an overview. We're going to go through it. If you have further questions, these question marks will go into that section in a little more detail. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is put in our length, which is going to be 20 feet, and width, which will be 14 feet. We're going to use 2x12s for our joist, PT. In our deck framing layout, if we scroll up here, we can choose how we want to lay this out, right? And essentially our layout is going to say, do we have a dropped beam? Do we have a flush beam? And how many beams do we have? Or girders. I use the term girders, but girders and beams are the same thing. All right, so this will just be a type B, right? So we have a dropped beam. These are going to be cantilevered over our beam or girder. So we're going to select type B as our deck framing layout. Our joist spacing will be 16 inches on center. You can see in the light blue it's already started to populate information. Our joist spacing is default going to be 16 on center, but if it's different, change that. If you have any joists that are doubled up, you can click that as well. So girder dimension, our girder dimension is going to be what size material. So we're going to make girders like this. They're going to be built up girders, or we'll fasten material together. And so what will be the dimension of that? So we're going to go ahead and you say these are going to be 2x10 girders. And the number of members in a girder are how many boards wide will this be? So this is 1, 2, 3 members in our girder. So how many boards wide is your girder or beam, just select from this drop-down menu. All right, structural posts are going to be what support our beam, right, or girder. So we're going to use 6x6s. And what is the post height? So this thing is going to be, as you see, it's not very far off the ground. Let's say these are going to be 2 feet 6 inches. Post braces are, if you're going to have braces for your posts, right, these right angle braces, you can click this button right here, right? If you have your post braces, and then post brace dimension, you choose, and then how far down your post do you want that brace to be before it starts up at a 45-degree angle. So traditional is down at least 1/3. So, but you can change that right here. Now, when we go to structural posts, once we're done, right over here, it's important to know this is where you select your structural posts, and we'll go over that after we do our footings. So our footings is how are we going to do your footings? Are you going to use sonotubes, or cardboard tubes like this, or are you just going to make a hole in the earth and pour your concrete into that? So select whichever you're going to do, whichever one you want to do, just click. Let's go concrete form tubes. We select our concrete from this drop-down menu. And once again, anytime you see a plus sign next to a material, that'll take you to the place where you can change the price of the concrete or add concrete, whatever you need to do. Edit the concrete material that is in this drop-down menu. That's how you do it. That's where you do it. So if you wanted to add something, you go, you can get a cubic foot for $10. You go back, you can see your concrete's there. All right, so we're using a concrete form tube. We select what form we're going to use, and then how much of that form will we use. So this is 4 foot long tube. How much of that tube will we use, right? So if we use 2 feet of it, we'll be able to get, this program will say, hey, you can get 2 footings out of 1 tube. All right, so once we're done in that section, it's very important that we go over here and we select this. This is like a visual readout of how we're framing this. And these check marks are going to be where our posts are, where our structural posts, right? These things. So if you know how many posts you want to do, like let's say you know you want 4, just click 4. Check 4 boxes. Now, it doesn't matter where you click. It's going to just basically add up how many check marks you have and space those evenly. If you look over here, you can see your length in between posts, right? So if you don't know how many posts you want, you can kind of, use this as a way to kind of find out, how many posts you want based on what you want the length between your posts to be, right? So do you want your length between posts to be between 5 or 4, right? So this is how many posts we're going to have. If let's say there are posts that aren't going to be along this girder, say you want to add them someplace else, just add them here, right? We'll add just a couple extra posts. That's just so, I made this so you can kind of easily choose and figure out how many posts you want. But then if you want to add posts that you can't here, just select that. Just add it in right there. And that's it for section 1. You can see if we scroll over, we can see all the framing we have, how much that framing will cost, and how much concrete we need, right? And so this concrete is based on how many holes, how many holes are we going to dig based on how many posts, and how much concrete we need based on the measurements of your sonotube or your hole in the earth, if you decide to do a hole in the earth, right? All right, that's it.